the problem is that we need to adapt with all those changes all the time. All right. And the next factor is on the machine design. And from my part is that when I go to the industry area, I have seen in Malaysia basically. In Malaysia, we can see that we build something and then we think the consequences later. Okay, but in Europe, take example, in other countries out there, and we can see that when they design the workplace or work environment, okay, work setup, so they design and they put the human factor first into the design. So therefore, when people start to work for the company, then they will not have the problem. So in Malaysia, it's different. So overall, these three elements or the three factors is actually the law of work. We need to fit in the task and working environment to the worker. Okay, next. So the type of ergonomics here, if you can see, there are three components. Okay, the number one is the organization factor. Okay, and also the physical factor and the cognitive factor. So the organizational factor, basically the participation into the activities, into the program itself. Okay, the social technical system, the environment set up for the workplace, and so on. Where the physical factor, it is about the human anatomy, it's about the physiology and also the anthropometric of everyone. So every human being is different. Right. So now, when it comes to COVID-19 situation, and it's been like almost 2 years now, so the problem is that the cognitive factor, it has the issue on the mental health. So this what basically the employer really don't much understand about the ergonomic. So they do care about, okay, you got pain, you got this problem on the knee, on the back, and so on. Okay, I engage specialists to help the, mitigate the risk and put the control measure and so on. But they don't understand during this COVID-19 situation, a lot of cases happen on the cognitive factors. Okay, so it's about now we are having the virtual talk 1 hour. Okay, we will be having problem disconnectivity of the network. We having a lot of problem related to the isolated ourselves among from the group members. So the communication itself will be the barrier during this period and so on. All right. So next. So in ergonomics, there are two components. Okay, there are two parts that we need to manage. Okay, the first part is physiological ergonomics. So this, I think everyone know about. Okay, you complain to your boss, I got back pain because of doing this task and so on. I got the wrist problem. I cannot grip so hard and using the strength. And you tell the boss, and the boss say, okay, go for the medical help and so on. So that is the physiological area that we can see and we can understand easily. But another factor or another side of the ergonomic itself that we can't really understand well, even myself that having 14 years of experience in ergonomic and managing a lot of the cases, sometimes it's hard to get engaged into the psychology or mental issue or cognitive factors. Because you can see out there, your children perhaps, maybe they can just laugh and, talking with you and so on, but you don't know what is actually inside them. Same goes like our colleagues that are working in the office environment, right? They got all the tasks bundled up in their plates and so on, and then they're out of fence and they keep silent and they keep smiling. But inside, we don't understand. Okay? So those are the example of the psychology side of the ergonomic. So sometimes that is one of the issue. Another issue is that most of the company now still hesitate to get the workers back to office, even though that is the new SOP. You can have at least 60% or 80% of your workers to be in the office and so on. Now, because of that, some of the people that working from home, they will have the problem on having a good setup on their workstation. All right. So that can create the issue if the person already have existing pain like the back pain or sleep disc or arthritis and so on, right? So that can create more stress. Another thing is that you can understand working from home is very challenging right now. If you have kids, small toddlers, so a lot of things that you need to take into consideration and put their priority list. All right. So the psychology side of ergonomic is not easy to manage. All right. And most of the company will not really understand on the psychology effect to their workers. So they're focusing more on the physiological. So that is actually a part of the ergonomic segment that you take care. All right. So now, after COVID-19 situation, we have to move to manage on the mental illness, okay, mental health issue, okay, emotion issue with the workers. Okay, so next, why is that ergonomic is important? It's because it will improve the well-being of the workers, it will improve the communication across the team, and of course, with this current situation, a lot of MSD cases at the workplace happen, right? So we need to take care of this possible MSD issue. Then we manage the case well in the organization in order for us to avoid getting the MSD injuries at workplace, right? And in terms of the job itself, it will improve our procedures, improve the work errors, okay? And in organization, then of course you can see the numbers of reduction costs will be reduced a lot, right? So because I was from the previous company in oil and gas, I managed a lot of the MSD cases. And you can see one person got injured, one person go for the medical treatment, especially getting the specialist help. It costs at least 20,000 ringgit Malaysia per treatment, per minor operation, take example. Okay, even myself alone, I have my own sleep disc issue. Okay, 5 days on my lumbar, 5 days on my cervical got problem, right? But I still have to manage myself because I do understand on the ergonomics. I do understand where it comes from. I do understand how to help myself to make sure that I'm healthy, right? So the organization is part of the support system that you need to really, really care about your employees. Because if you do that, then it will reduce a lot of costs in terms of the benefits to the employee on the medical costs. Okay, you can see the numbers of reduction on the attendance itself. Okay, the reduced absence of the workers at workplace. All right, and also, of course, we can avoid from get penalty from the DOSH. Okay, by the law. Next. So why is that important? Because in Malaysia, we have OSHA Act 1994, which already stated in there on the section 15, 16, 17, or 18, a person who contravene the provision of section 15, 16, 17, or 18 shall be guilty of any offense and shall, on conviction, be liable to a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit Malaysia or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years, or to both. Okay, and also in Malaysia legislation also is stated under subsection 4C to promote an occupational environment for person at work which is adapted to their physiological and psychological needs. Okay, and if we can see from the the FMA Act, next slide. Okay, no person shall be employed to lift, carry, or move any load so heavy as to be likely to cause bodily injury to him. This is under FMA 1967, Section 12. Okay, and the most important part under Regulation 32 as well, working clothes, personal protective clothing, and appliances. Why I highlighted into this very much here is because when I did the risk assessment in the industry, especially manufacturing and some other industry, and I can see that a lot of the people, a lot of the organization, the management is just giving the PPE. Do you provide the employee the PPE? Yes, I did. When you go and check, the PPE is actually doesn't suit with the task that they currently doing. Take example is that if the workers need to work in the chilling or chiller room, so the PPE that given is very thin or not adjusted to the environment or the heatable material. So the problem is that when they get in that room, chiller room, for 8 to 10 hours, so that can create the impact to the workers, especially the muscle fatigue easily, the tiredness, the dehydration of the body itself. All right, so that is very important. Another example why I highlighted under FMA 1967 is that when I did the risk assessment to the industry, and I've seen a lot of the company that really don't have much mechanical assist to give to the workers and help their manual lifting, manual handling, lifting or lowering techniques. So a lot of the cases, even 100 over kg, you don't have the mechanical assist. This is impossible, right? You think it is impossible, but it's really happened. And some of the findings, when I did the work, the people, the workers who already work in that segment or that task, they already have the back pain or the slip disc. Okay, so that is the problem. Okay, so next slide, please. All right. So in those guidelines, they have the ergonomic risk assessment at workplace 2017 guideline, whereby all the industry need to do the initial ergonomic risk assessment or initial ERA. So why is it important to do the initial ERA? Because you need to understand that when you being the HSE or SHO or safety personnel there, whether you are management, supervisor, executive or whatsoever under the safety area. So when you get into the office, to the organization, you do not know which work unit or which work section or which work department or work group, work area that have classification on red ergonomic risk or yellow ergonomic risk or green ergonomic risk. So therefore, the initial ERA is important to make sure that we go and dig down further which work unit that has the issue the most. And then we zoom in further, are there any workers that having the MSD issue then? Then we manage the musculoskeletal system disorder case management. Okay, next slide please. All right. In 2019, occupational poisoning and disease statistic by DOSH, okay, if you can see the statistic here, it's not so clear on your screen, but what I would like to highlight on this is actually on the next slide, under the occupational musculoskeletal system disease. So under the occupational MSD, you see the numbers is 409. This is only 2019. The case reported only 409, and case confirmed is 338. This is only the numbers that reported to SOTSO or DOSH, right? But there are hiding cases that are not disclosed to SOTSO or SOTSO or DOSH. When you do the work in the field, then you will understand why is that happening. Let's take under the MSD issue, all right? But you can see other issue at the workplace also related to poison, related to the mobility, related to the other injuries, other personal injuries. Next slide, please. All right. So work from home and office bad habits, right? So the bad habits, I can see a lot of the people, this what we basically do. Okay, so we can take a sweet time to do work by sleeping, using our dining table, using our kids, school table, and so on, right? So that is the bad habits that we do, and we have been doing this for almost 2 years now during COVID-19. Next slide. All right, so the negative impact on the physiological issue, right? Disruption and changes routine. Okay, some are uncomfortable with being on camera for meeting and consultation, right? And some may be difficult for workers to separate their work and home life. So this is very challenging, right? Okay, next slide. So we tend to eat more and exercising less. I can agree with this because why? Because before MCO, due to my pain, I have to go gym, I have to do yoga, I have to do Pilates, I have to do swimming, and so on. So whatever that I intake, I can burn, right? So that actually can help me to sustain and to get fit and to get healthy because of my sleep disc condition. But because of the MCO, I cannot go to the gym, I cannot do the workout and so on. So I do the home workout. But at the beginning of the period, yes, you can do it quickly, you can do it consistently. But after a few months, then it's prolonged of the COVID-19 situation, then you tend to a bit lazy to do all those. So every day, if you don't control your eating, then you exercise less. So that also can create the problem to your health. Okay, and of course, choose your warrior here. So warrior here, you can see sometimes you can use this chair on the dining table, right, with the backrest. And these are the actual scenario happening right now, right? And we don't really care about the tools that we use because we have the limited financial issue, we have the space constraint at our work environment, right? And we have any other issue related to the family matters, related to the colleagues and so on. So next slide, please. Okay, so what are the MSD? So if you see the musculoskeletal disorder here, okay, the common cases is on the material handling. And you can go back to your office, you can go back to your organization, and you can check your workplace. Do you use the proper tool? Do you have the mechanical assist? Is your mechanical assist that you provided to the workers, is it suitable for the task that they are doing? Is there any repetitive motion that can create the injuries? What is your management do with that to mitigate all the risks, right? So all of these are the common cause of the MSD issue. Right, so next slide. So in ergonomic, we always refer to the work-related MSD. Okay, so it is about the work environment, about the performance of work, and it will make it worsen if we don't tackle it now. All right, so next slide. Okay, because why? Every human being, we have different capacity, body capacity, and also the demand itself. Okay, take example, you can see that strong and lean body size, but you don't know whether this person has the internal injuries or not, right? And you might think that the small people who are doing the manual handling cannot carry 25 kg, but he or she actually can do that more than 25 kg, take example. So everyone, the capacity and human capacity and the work demand is really playing important role in managing ergonomic at your workplace. All right, so next. Because you need to see every task, every actions, every activity at your workplace, these are the risk factors. So most of the time, I will see the awkward posture, the static loading, the high repetition, and the forceful exertion. These are the risk factors that commonly found in the industry when I do the risk assessment. Okay, and you see the last two part, the cold temperature and the vibration, also part of the ergonomic risk factor. So if you do the assessment to your workplace and you see there will be any combination of the risk factors here, that means that is getting to the worsen. Okay, so the condition getting to worsen, then you have to tackle on that. All right, so next slide, please. So quickly, I will slide through on this awkward posture. So basically, you can see sometimes we sit strong, we sit back and relax when we do work. And then after 1 hour, 2 hours, you start to slouch, you start to slide down under the table and so on. So this is what happening when we are doing work from home, right? In the office, the same thing. At this time, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, then you can see already. Will people sit like normal when they start to work at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning? They won't sit the same. Okay, so they start slouching, they start to do back to behaviors. Because awkward posture can create impact on your shoulder joint, can create impact on your neck, and can create impact on your spine, and also your hip joint. Okay, why? We can see right now, most of you will use laptop at home, right? So do you have the riser for your laptop? If you don't, then do you adjust that and take the books to rise up your laptop level and so on? So if you don't understand on the ergonomic, you don't do that. So you tend to lean forward and shrug your shoulder, and you start to have all the aching and back pain and so on, right? So this is the awkward posture. So next is the static posture or static loading. So when you are staying at one position, even though you have the ergonomic equipment, the chair and the tools provided to you, but if you use that for prolonged action, prolonged sitting, then it will create the problem to your spine as well, because the most heaviest part on our body is the head itself. And when you're sitting down for so long, it's pressing to your lumbar area. So it also impacts to your spine. Next. Okay, so contact stress you will see a lot of the table that we use at home, okay, or in the office, you have the sharp edge of the table. And we tend to compress on the sharp edge of the table, then that can create the compression to your very tiny muscle over here on the wrist area and the under forearm area. So that can create the issue. All right, next. Next slide, please. Okay, so the high repetition, if you can see from the office, we do the clicking a lot. But when you go to the manufacturing, take example, you will see a lot of the issue whereby picking up the product and so on, right, to pack. So that is the repetitive. A lot of the repetitive motion when in the manufacturing area or the construction area. Okay, you will see a lot on that. So that can create the issue on the fingertips and also the muscle, right? So next slide. Okay, repetitive motion, the same thing as I mentioned earlier. Okay, a lot of the keyboarding, and we have to think about the people who like to answer or responding the email through phone, right? When you responding the email through phone, that can create the issue, right? Because when you send email, you should not be using the phone to respond to all your email, office email directly. Okay, for a short while, that is fine. Excuse me. Okay, so next. So the CTS issue will happen, okay, when you start to compress the wrist on the table, that can create the inflammation or the numbness on this area. So when you got the CTS issue, then you will have problem. You need to go to the surgery and they cut the vein on that. All right, and also you need to wear the splints while you sleeping or you working. Right? Next slide, please. So, how working home environment, okay, can affect your psychology. So, studies have shown that prolonged stress can lead to a decrease in cognitive function and human performance. Sometimes you notice or not, when you're working from home for so long, right? So your colleague will call you and asking you a question, and sometimes you kind of like lost in space or blur sometimes, right? Because that is already saying that your memory is your memory is already overloaded, right? So you cannot accept it anymore. So next slide, please. Okay, the negative impact of the workers' physical and mental health can create the issue, lessen productivity over time when contact with co-workers is reduced, and you also reduce the job satisfaction, and also impact female workers with annual salary. Of course, female is more if you are the workers for the organization, so you will have to juggle between your work and the family at home. Excuse me. And increase time spent at the workstation and also increases work expectation. Okay. So the negative mental effect of work from home, we can feel that we are being isolated. We feel so lonely because when we work from in the office, we can just go and have a quick ergo break or chit chat with the colleagues and so on, right? But when we are working from home, we are being isolated, right? And of course, we feel that we are more to burn out because it's too long MCO period and too long working from home. So we don't have the aura or we don't have the energy to work further. Okay, and it will increase, it will give the new mental issue, especially when you are the parents, okay, and you have to deal with the work and so on. All right, so next. So a dedicated workspace, as you can see, this is very good workspace that you can use to do the work. Okay, and this is quite expensive, but it is more safe for you to work, right? And next. Okay, and this is the elevated table that you can stand and sit down as when you need it. Okay, and also you have the anti-static mattress that you put on the right side there. Okay, you can have that, and if you use the laptop, you can use the riser. Okay, this will be more comfortable. Okay, so you need to set the boundaries on the productive work boundaries. Okay, choose boundaries over barriers. Okay, number two, figure out how you do your own best work first and put yourself in your teammate's shoes. Whether we want to see, okay, is the person agree with us or not, right? Sometimes we need to put ourselves into their shoes first, then we understand. And working from home, you got challenge whereby you got something to do quickly, but you can't get it done, right? Okay, this step four, make agreements among the team that, okay, I need to have this complete by this date and by this time and so on. And number five, give based on long-term benefits, not short-term fees. Okay, all right. And of course, every 30 minutes break, 30 minutes of work, you got to have at least 15 to 20 minutes of break if you're working from home, right? Or 5 to 10 minutes stretching, that will be fine enough for you. Okay? Then frequently take break on that. Next. Okay, so ensure that we regular contact with the company and the co-workers so that we don't feel isolation, because isolating yourself will create more stress and more mental illness to you. Okay, next slide. So what you can do if you have issue with your emotional wellness, then go and ask your buddy to help you, or somebody that can listen to you and share your problem. Okay, I know it's difficult, but try to get somebody that you can trust to share the issue. Okay, and as the employer, ask how your employee are really doing during this period. Keep engaged with your employees. Okay, number two, encourage employees to refill their cups, literally and figuratively. Okay, because more amount of the liquid that coming to your body then can create more oxygen and giving more blood circulation to your body. So it lessens the probable cause of the injury. Okay, number three, look out for people keeping unsustainable work hours. Okay, so this is very important. Next. Okay, so I give you the example of the computer stretch that you can do, or you can check by yourself, like raise up your arms on here and then stretch like this, and you can pull to the back and push to the front. You can feel that the symptom or discomfort of pulling muscle over here very well now. Okay, so you can test yourself. If you raise up, you can feel that you have aching on this upper shoulder or the joint itself because of strap your shoulders and so on. So these are the example of the computer desk stretch that you can just go into the Google and get it. All right. Okay. Next. So if you have back pain, this part of the exercise for you. I believe everyone do this, especially when you are at home, you tend to resting more. Okay, so those people that have back pain, you need to start to do the exercise to strengthen your lower back muscle. Okay, next. Okay, so the last slide here, you can just connect with us, Ergo Prima, as on the slide. And you can engage me at z@ergoprima.com if you have any issue on the ergonomics, or you want to get engagement on the business, you can just direct to that number. Okay, and next. Thank you very much. And if you have any further question, you can pop into the chat room and we will answer it later at the end of the session. Thank you. And I pass the floor to Melvin.
Thank you, Mr. Zain. For great topic sharing, since many of us are working from home during this MCO period, it was a helpful tips you have given to us to overcome this situation, sir. So in Ergo Prima, we provide all ergonomic services, tools, equipment to minimize all the MSDS risks that might arise during this pandemic COVID-19 situations. If you have any further inquiries on that, please feel free to contact us at any time. And we are giving out great discounts to all the companies that might be interested if you are engaged with us before the year end of 2021. So now let us waste no more time. I pass the floor to Ms. Erin Elizabeth from SK Group, who will walk us further into indoor air quality.
A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Arlie Elizabeth. I'm representing SK Group to share sessions about indoor air quality. Maybe some of the participants today are not quite familiar what is the terms of indoor air quality due to the lack of understandings or awareness around, especially in Malaysia. So today's topic, IAQ topic, will cover from few common questions that are related to the indoor air quality, such as what is IAQ, is there any guidelines or guidance that related to IAQ? On top of that, what are the common health effects from indoor air pollutants? Thus, what causes the indoor air pollutants? And lastly, what are the strategies to improve the indoor air quality? To begin with, what is IAQ? The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, buildings state that the air quality within and around buildings are structures, especially as it relates to the health and comfort of building occupants. Next. Nowadays, most people spend the majority of their time indoor, whether at homes or at office. Some experts estimate many of us are indoors up to 90%. And at these times of during pandemic, of course, most of us are in lockdown conditions and the number could be higher. Think about it. Buildings nowadays are become ultra efficient, highly insulated. And what happens is the dirty air that traps inside the buildings while the fresh air are trapped outside the buildings. Next. The EPA has ranked the indoor air pollution among the top 5 of the environmental risks towards the public health. This makes indoor air quality is 2 to 5 times worse than outside air. Over 3.8 million people had died annually from illness attributes to IAQ. There are some guidelines and regulations that are complied to protect workers from exposure to workplace contaminant. The first one is the Industries Code of Practice, ICOP, on Indoor Air Quality 2010, which it was replaced from the previous versions from 2005. This Industry Code of Practice, also called ICOP, has been drawn up to ensure employees and occupants are protected from the poor indoor air quality that could adversely affect their health and well-being. ICOP is a legal instrument provided for under Occupational Safety and Health Act OSHA 1994. Some of the general duties under OSHA 94 were mentioned from the sections 15 and 17, where stated that the general duty of an employer, also building owner, to ensure the safety and without risk of health of the employee and anyone at a place of work. Another one is from Section 18, stated that occupier of non-domestic premises shall take such measure that practicable to ensure the premises are safe and without risk health to persons using the premises. Next. These are some contents from the ICOP of IAQ 2010. First are the applications of ICOP, and next is how to dealing with those complaints regarding to indoor air quality. Next is investigating IAQ problem and how to control itself. Lastly is some information, instruction, and training sessions also provided in the guidelines. The next one is the guidance note on ventilations and indoor air quality for residential setting during COVID-19 pandemic. The purpose of this guidance is to provide important information about measures to reduce the risk transmissions through the areas of virus COVID-19 in the residential settings, where air conditioning is used periodically or continuously, as well as naturally ventilated homes. The objective is to guide public to improve their ventilations and indoor quality at the residentials to reduce the risk of airborne transmission. This guidance was accompanied with the latest Safe Operating Procedures (SOP), where it is established by the Majlis Keselamatan Negara (MKN) and other key measures to reduce the disease transmission. This guidance is developed by based on ICOP on IAQ 2010 a couple months ago by the Departments of Occupational Safety and Health (DOSH). Next are the common effects of indoor air contaminants. Symptoms caused by indoor air pollutants may occur shortly after single or repeated exposure towards the pollutant. Acute side effect had bad IAQ might include short-term symptoms like eye, nose, and throat irritations, fatigue, maybe some headache or dizziness, and much worse as the concentrations affecting the level. Much worse as the concentration level affecting the productivity for working environment. Some other effects that may show up years after exposures has occurred or only after long or repeated periods of exposure. These health issues which include respiratory problems, heart diseases, and cancer, where it can be severely debilitating or even fatal. These effects also can be associated with sick building syndrome. Sick building syndrome itself, the terms used to describe situations in which buildings occupants experience acute health and comfort effects. In 1984, the World Health Organization (WHO) committee reports suggest that up to 30% of new and remodeled buildings worldwide may be the subjects of excessive complaints relative to the air quality. According to EPA indicators of sick building syndrome, building occupants complaining of symptoms associated with the acute discomfort. The acute discomfort has mostly the same symptoms as I mentioned in previous slides. This includes headache, dry cough, nausea, and etc. Most of the complaints report relief soon after they leaving the building. Moving forward is the common indoor air pollutants. Pollutants is small substance that can decrease the indoor air quality. Here are some common pollutants that can be found. The first one is carbon dioxide. As it is known that we do exhale carbon dioxide from ourselves. Just as you know that carbon dioxide also can be found in the kitchen, such as gas stove or any gas appliance. Fire is a chemical reaction that resulting a carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide can be also came from the cigarettes itself. The second one is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is quite similar sources with carbon dioxide. It comes from water heaters, gas stove, oven, and clothes dryer. The next one is particulate matter. For those who is not familiar with particulate matter or PM, PM or aerosol is a mix of fine dust and tiny liquid droplets suspended in the air. This PM is classified by their size. So it has two types, which are PM10 and PM2.5. The PM measures in micrometers. As you can see in the pictures, PM is a lot smaller than the hair strands itself. PM can be generated through cooking, combustions, activities such as candle burning, or even smoking itself. While formaldehyde is colorless chemical, it was widely used to make home building products. It also can be found most products because it usually used for industrial disinfection, fungicides, and germicides. Formaldehyde can be found also in cabinets, furniture, flooring, upholstery, and drapery. It also can be found in paint and coating. And even in our daily perfume usage, when we spray the perfume or even the air fresheners and also air-scented humidifier, it also contains formaldehyde. And the last one is mold. Mold can happen when the humidity in the area elevated to begin to grow in the shortest 24 to 26 hours. The mold itself can cause respiratory issues, especially towards people who have asthma or allergies. It is easy to identify the signs of mold, where you can see a black, greenish, or even a black dots that sticking on the wall or near the air conditioning area. If you're using air conditioner, you need to check the aircon itself occasionally. Maybe there have been growth of the mold over the area. Now we're moving to the strategies to improve IAQ. These are the things that everyone in the building can do, such as dispose the garbage properly, empty the garbage daily in appropriate container to prevent the odors and biological contaminations. Then you must store food properly to avoid attractions of pests. Besides, it can also generate unpleasant odor. Keep the dining area clean and sanitized as necessary to prevent pests and maintain the hygiene over the area. You also need to clean up immediately after a spill because damp areas and excess moisture will support the growth of mold and mildew, which significantly affect the air quality of the room area. And most importantly, smoke only in designated areas. And if you feel any stuffy feelings or notice a mold around the vent, you must inform your facility manager immediately. Next. As for home, this is the guidance recommended from the Ministries of Health of Malaysia. The first one, we must open window to ventilate room spaces with clean outdoor air. You still need to let a small opening when air conditioner is in operating. Then the operate electric fans can increase air movement and thermal comfort. Next, operate exhaust fans it can improve the ventilation also. The exhaust fan usually placed in bathroom and kitchen where moisture can build up to do activities such as showering, washing, and cooking. Set the temperature of air conditioner between 23 to 26 degrees Celsius, which are recommended temperature. Too high or too low temperature can also cause the growth of molds. It is also recommended to use air cleaner. Air cleaner might help to remove the contaminants from the air in a room. Next. Lastly, the ventilation is very important to increase the indoor air quality. This is the guidance for non-residential area. For non-centralized air conditioning system, it is recommended to let a small opening in windows even though you're using the aircon. The objective of this process is to ventilate the room space or clean out the outdoor air. You also need to keep the exhaust fans running. Exhaust fan can help to remove or eliminate odor, fume, and moisture out the area. Next is to use portable air cleaner with HEPA filter. HEPA filter stands for high efficiency particulate air, where it will trap the harmful particles such as pollen, pet denders, dust mites, and also tobacco smoke. It typically captures over 99.5% of all particulate pollutions. For natural ventilation space, open as many windows and doors where practical, especially in the morning and evening when outside air is relatively cooler. Lastly, it is also recommended to purge area frequently by placing fans as close as possible to an open window or door, blowing outside to move virus particles in the air to the outside. As a conclusion, taking actions to improve the indoor air quality can have profound impact to the health of building occupants. It also may improve air quality by increasing your productivity by around 11% and reduce the indoor air pollution might lower the chances of disease and makes healthier environment. With that, that is all for me. Thank you very much for your attention. Moderator itself.
Thank you.
Continue.
Thank you, Ms. Lin, for those very great lessons here, all of us on the ventilation and indoor air quality, especially either when working from home or workplace environment, we need to make sure that we have a clean air to breathe. So thank you. Let's move on to the Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, you may unmute your microphone, introduce your name and your location base, and ask your questions, or you may type in the chat room for us to pick up your questions for our speakers to answer. Ladies and gentlemen, you can ask any questions. So you basically unmute your microphone.
Excuse me, I want to ask something.
Yes, sir.
Can first talk about the ergonomic. Can you share something about ERA assessment?
All right, so Mr. Adzain will be happy to explain about the ERA assessment.
All right. For the initial ERA, so basically what happened is that in the industry, okay, when you're holding the position in the industry as the safety, okay, under the safety department, and most of the people, when I went to the industry, most of them do not have categorization of each and every work area or work unit under red, yellow, or green segment, right? So, can you hear? Okay, you can hear me, right? Because I can see my screen is a bit lagging here. All right, so what happened? Okay, cool. What happened is that when we don't have this categorization of the work unit that has the ergonomic high risk or medium or low risk, then the problem is that we cannot manage the MSD injuries at workplace. Because why? Because you do not know which work unit that have people that have pain in there, okay, especially if you see the task is repetitive motion, okay, and that will create the repetitive picking up something, take example. So picking up using your fingers, using your hands, is actually can create the issue on the CTS. But you do not have the categorization of the workplace category of the medium, high, and low risk. Okay, so what happened is that you can do either the survey one-time walkthrough to all your work area in the whole organization, inclusive the admin building or the admin personnel, right? And then you can sort it out which work department or work area or work group that has the low or medium from that in draft, in draft view. Then from there, you can zoom in further to do the initial error, whereby this initial error, it has to be done by the ergonomic trained person certified by DOSH only. All right. So if you think that your team need to have the ergonomic trained person, then you can send your team into our public training, which is going to happen in October and in end of September. You can check out our FB page or the LinkedIn page for that info, right? Then you can submit the report after your training complete. Once your report is completed and passed by the trainer after the trainer review, then your name will be submitted to DOSH for the certification. Then from there, you can do the risk assessment at your workplace. Otherwise, that is another option for you, is that you can get specialists like from ErgoPrima, then to give you the ergonomic risk assessment and to categorize all this work area, work unit. Because if you don't understand the ergonomic, how to look, in which angle that you need to look and so on, you cannot find anything wrong behavior. Everything is correct, everything is perfect. But when ergonomists go down to the field, and we can see a lot of the cases, right? So then after the initial error completed, okay, there will be a report given to the clients. And once the report saying that you need to do further advanced error, then we go for another level of advanced error, whereby we need to use all the tools to make sure that our statement or our report is actually proof that you have to do something in this company. Otherwise, then it will give more impact and prolong issues to your workers. And you don't want to have the people who keep on changing in your company, and you having the attrition rate in your company very high because people are getting pain and then they left the company, and you have to hire the new workers. You have to retrain them again and again and again. So this is what's happening in the industry. So the ergonomic risk factor is crucial for all the industry. Okay, did I answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you. Another thing, actually, I'm from hospital services, and we already have a physiotherapist.
Okay.
So is it possible that we can use physiotherapist as a trained person as a to do error assessment?
Okay, so your question is that okay if you take the physiotherapist to be the ergonomic trained person to do the ergonomic risk assessment, right? Okay, yes, you can get anyone in your organization, go for the initial and advanced era training, and then get certified by DOSH, then you can do the risk assessment. But what I have seen in the industry right now is that, take example, right? If you ask somebody that not into ergonomic that much, but I believe the therapist itself is closest, okay? Their task is closest to ergonomics management. Okay, so when you ask somebody to go for the ergonomic trained person and complete certified, when you come back to the work, you need to do the risk assessment. The way that you looking things versus the way that ergonomic looking things is different. So the angle of ergonomic is going deeper, but your ergonomic trained person will be at the touch base of the risk assessment. But anyway, at least you have the what we call the initial or preliminary actions that you have done for your organization. Okay, and I have experienced also those people send their staff to go for the ETP and certify the initial and advanced era ETP. They still come back to work. They don't know how to start the initial and advanced era work. They're clueless. They blur. Okay, but it is good to have at least 2 or 3 or a group of people from your organization to be certified as the ergonomic trained person. And your questions, getting the therapist, I think the closest one. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're most welcome. Any other question? All right. So if no questions, yes.
In the chat box, I read here that from Amirul Amin, in early presentation, Mr. Art said that the difference between Europe and Malaysia, where we usually build the machine first without considering human resources. My question is, why our country didn't consider human resources first before creating any mission? What may be the factor or reason for that?
Okay. Thank you for the question. Very good question there. All right. So what I see a lot in Malaysia is that when in Europe, they already have the human factor engineering and human factor ergonomic. So human factor engineering is whereby you are the team who's going to go and getting involved in the first part of any designing, regardless, you design the building, you design the work setup, you design the office or whatsoever, or the furnitures and so on. So the human factor engineering team is the part of the team in that designing. So when they create something, they produce something from that. So it's already taking concern on the ergonomics matters or ergonomics issue that might rise if people using that products or that tools. All right. Where in Malaysia, what happened is that when we do something, we don't think human factor ergonomic, not even human factor engineering. Yeah, only those companies that heritage from any overseas parent, okay, then you can have the human factor ergonomic put into their workplace when they designing the workplace. So that's what I see. Okay, because why? If you can see the ergonomic risk assessment at workplace guideline, it's only published in 2017. When I was working in oil and gas company, we started the ergonomic in 2006, right? And I was trained by the Human Factor Technology Center of Excellence in Houston to be the ergonomic advisor. And this team is actually taking care about all the engineering part, all the designing part, and so on. And this is what happened to current industry in Malaysia. And I can see that it started to catch up ergonomic into the design team, so that when they create something and they start to have, taking care about this ergonomic issue, the MSD issue especially. Yeah, because in Malaysia, you can see in our education field, colleges or university, right? We can see a lot of the university and colleges, they don't have the human factor engineering courses or human factor ergonomic courses or even ergonomic course alone, right? So that is the problem, right? You can see a lot of colleges and university only they have OSH or DOSHM. Yeah, so that's it. So it's closest one, but not specifically under the human factor. So that is the problem for our country over here. I hope that I answer your question. Any other question? Okay, so
Thank you, Mr. Art, for the answers, and thank you for the participants for the questions. Since if there is no other question, then we will proceed with the closing. For your information, we are currently doing a Merdeka promotion. If you're interested, you can fill up the inquiry from the chat room. And we do hope this wonderful hour session will benefit all of you, and do share the knowledge to your peers, colleagues, friends, and family to increase awareness. Before we end the session, I will appreciate if you could ensure you have registered your attendance that given in the URL link in the chat room. We will also appreciate if you could provide us some feedback by filling out the feedback form as pasted in the chat room. If you could do have any further inquiries related to our services, you may scan the QR code or click the inquiry form URL in the chat room given. You may also visit our official website at ergoprima.com and isgegroup.com if you need more info. With that, we thank you for engaging in this free webinar session, and we also look forward for other topics in future engagement. With all of you, stay safe and take care. Good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may now leave the screen.